Welcome and thanks for tuning into the Blok blog. We had an interesting conversation recently with an NRA firearms instructor at the USCCA Concealed Carry Expo in Atlanta. The question was asked about the potential for an instructor to incur legal liability after a student leaves their class and an accident or a negligent discharge occurs. This is a very valid question, and let's be frank. In today's litigious society, anyone can bring a lawsuit against you for just about anything. Even if it's a frivolous case, you will still have to pay an attorney to defend you initially, even if the case is thrown out, dismissed, or the court rules in your favor. Let's look at a hypothetical scenario that could realistically happen. You teach a basic firearms class, and there are students who are new to firearms in it. They each do well during the practical and the live fire exercises. On all accounts, these students make excellent progress in your course, and as a good instructor, you encourage them to all continue to practice at home. A few days later, you are sickened when you find out that one of your students was in fact practicing at home, just as you had instructed them to do, when they had a negligent discharge, the round went through a wall, and struck a family member. As bad as this is, the scenario gets worse. Your student sues you because they say you failed to warn them adequately on the proper procedures for safe firearms handling. That's right, they're suing you for their mistake. Does this situation sound unreasonable? It shouldn't. After all, we have criminals suing law-abiding homeowners for shooting them after they broke into their home to commit a crime. And the crazy thing is that the criminals are winning. So don't think for a moment that a student cannot try and blame their misfortune on you in an effort to prevent something bad from happening to them instead. How are you going to defend yourself? Did you do all you could as an instructor? Now, let's look at this situation in a slightly different light. Let's say that everything in this scenario remained the same. However, when you taught your class, you used barrel block and required each of your students to use them as well. Throughout your class, every handgun had a barrel block in it to ensure absolute safety in the training environment. At the conclusion of the class, you encouraged your students to continue to practice at home and to only practice with a barrel block inserted into their firearm. Several days later, one of your students has a negligent discharge, striking a family member. Could that have happened with a barrel block properly inserted into their firearm? Absolutely not. Did the students ever see you training in a classroom without a barrel block? No, they didn't. The question then becomes, could you as an instructor have possibly done anything more? Short of you being at their home every time they train, the answer is no. Can you see a difference here? If this happened to you, which position would you want to be in? Not only did you use a safety device in your class, you told your students to always use one as well. At this point, it's clear to see that the blame rests squarely on the shoulders of the student, not you as the instructor. So let's go back to our original question that was posed. Can an instructor potentially be held liable for a student's unsafe gun handling after a class? The answer is yes, they can. However, if you proactively increase your level of safety by using barrel block and encourage your students to do the same, you've added additional layers of protection to your defense if you are ever sued. And who knows, it could very well prevent a lawsuit from progressing through the courts. The key here is to make sure that you provide your students with the tools needed to make sure that they are safe after they leave your class. That's it for this edition of Blok Blog. Remember, train safe, train right, and train often.